Welcome, everybody, to our energy talk. My name is Jona Bryndis. I'm an energy healer, energy coach, and trainer. And I want to welcome you, awakening, energetically sensitives, and empaths, to this talk about energies, something that is often difficult for us here. It's normal, and you're invited to share. We want to practice this, how to see ourselves as energetic beings and how to express that. And thanks to the Sacred Self-Healing Program and so forth, many of you have already learned the ins and outs of energy and how to share and how to express all that. So in these energy talks, I want to go deeper into one specific subject. And today I wanted to talk to you about masculine and feminine energies. It's such a big topic right now. And you always hear me talk about this sort of on a side note. Okay, so let's back up here for a second and just look at what does this even mean to be energetically sensitive? Okay, it means that we're picking up on stuff. It means that we are seeing ourselves not just as a sort of a machine or, bag of flesh. We're seeing ourselves as a holistic being. Yeah, we see ourselves as someone who has a physical, emotional, and intellectual, cognitive function and level of existence, but also maybe spiritual and energetic. And when a person begins to see themselves in this sort of extended way, not just as a physical being or not just as a physical emotional being, but as someone who actually has a soul, someone who actually has a much more differentiated and subtle awareness, consciousness, as we call this, than just say, psychology. Yeah, so there are some things that can be explained through psychology, and then there are some things that can't be explained through psychology alone. And this is what this whole sort of energy science is about. It allows us to grow into this higher vibratory evolutionary form that we are all now growing into. And that's where the woo starts. Okay, this is where many of you maybe feel like, oh, what's she talking about? Yes. How am I saying this? I'm saying this from an empirical standpoint. I know that you guys can pick up on energies. I know that you guys sometimes even have precognition. I know how to train that. I know that everybody can learn this. I know that it's inherent in every person. And I also know from my research that the children born today have a much higher aptitude to this. In other words, we can see a tendency here. I'm old enough to see a tendency over 55 years. We are growing into this. This is our upgraded version here. We're growing into higher levels of consciousness. We're growing into something that you could call, if you want to call it, is something scientific, a neurodivergence. Okay, so we are developing skills that allow us, to utilize our own energy in different, more differentiated, more discerning ways. And this is where I come in. I've been teaching this to people for over 15 years. I have curriculums and systematic ways on how to do this. And today, I want to talk about the probably most important one, the one that many of you awaken to first, even without any kind of energetic or spiritual understanding or background. And that has to do with, there's a crossover from psychology, these masculine and feminine energies within ourselves. So not the ones on the outside, but the ones inside of us. So what is the foundation for this? Obviously, we know that there's males and females, and now we also have a lot of in between there. Let's not go there right now. Let's focus on what does masculine and feminine energy in this world represent. Yeah, so this is what I would like to, where I would like to involve you guys. What for you represents masculine energies in this world, right? We can talk about politics, we can talk about anything. What is a representation of masculine energy for you? Approaches, strategies, systems, and what represents feminine energies for you? how do you sort this when you hear me talk about this? Right now I'm talking about the outer representations, okay? So that what you observe in the world. What is a what are representations of masculine and feminine energies? Please don't say my mom and my dad, because that's a given. Your mom and your dad are the very first representations of masculine and feminine energies for you psychologically. Yeah, so we all have a mom and dad, even if they weren't present. But talking about strategies, approaches, systems, concepts, ways of looking at things. I hear you. Okay.
For me, feminine energies feel like when I'm in the garden, when I'm working with plants, when I'm going for a walk through the trees, when I'm petting my cat. It feels soft and nurturing. For me, masculine energies is when the word push comes out. So when I'm pushing to get to work, making sure that I've got everything I need. When I watch, say if there's politics on, that feels like a masculine push to me. It doesn't feel like it has a lot of love. Not saying that masculine isn't love, but my softer side doesn't seem to appreciate things like news or politics or
okay.
All that being said is when I do anything, I need to have both, because going into any opportunity, any project with just one and not the other is out of balance. So let's say if I'm writing something, I want to write from my heart. So my heart is balanced between my masculine and my feminine. It's got both mixed in. So it's more in balance. If I'm not in balance when I write, then it's obvious in writing. It's too maybe wishy-washy or too pushy.
Okay. So I heard you say many things. So you were referring to how it processes in you. So when you're in your garden, when you pet your cat, when you go into the softer, more nurturing and loving space, you identify that as feminine energies in you. You're a woman, okay? And when you talk about politics, or when you, let's say, go out and try to make money, or you know, get the food for the day, you feel more like that you are feeling your masculine energies. Is this, am I representing this correctly?
Yes.
And you've identified that for you to feel balance within yourself, you're aiming, yeah, you've identified that you need both, and you're aiming to kind of doing activities that help you tuning into both at the same time, such as writing. I find it interesting that you used writing as an example. Would you mind, just for clarification, which part of writing do you feel is a feminine and which is more like a masculine part of writing?
I would say the more feminine is when I'm with my creative side. So
okay.
Yeah, and the masculine would be more, feels like it's more factual.
Okay. Yeah, totally. I get it. So that's how we, and obviously psychology supports that, Cheryl. Yeah. So it's the left brain, that's the intellectual, the more fact-based, as you call this, is also associated with masculine energies. And the right brain, yeah, that is more creative, that is more associative, yeah, and that allows sort of for things to be interconnected more, yeah, is also associated with feminine energies. And don't get this confused, guys, because our left and right hemispheres, yeah, and the nerves that connect them cross over here in your neck, yeah, in your atlas region, we then associate the right side of our body with the left hemisphere, which means most people experience their masculine energies on the right side of the body. And the left brain, the right side of the brain with the left side of the body. So the left side of the body is typically associated with feminine energies. So that's spoken from an energy training standpoint. Tina's making an example here. Feminine energies would be represented for her through buying flowers, like a decision. It's a decision-making strategy that you're mentioning here. And masculine energy would be buying stocks on the stock market. Can you guys come up with other examples, or maybe also other ways of feeling masculine and feminine energies within yourself? Who wants to share?
Hi guys, hi Jona.
Hi.
Hi. So if I just boil it all down to the nitty gritty, the feminine side basically is just the being, just the being, observing, feeling. The masculine would be more the doing. So that's how I just boil it all the way down.
Okay. All right. That would mean if I sit on the couch, eat chips all day long, watch Netflix, you find that a more feminine activity?
Not necessarily.
No, we got to talk about this.
But if I do need, I mean, there's a choice involved there, yes. If I need to just sit, I may engage in that for a little bit. But like if I really want to tap into my feminine energies, I'll go outside in nature. I'll go stand in the grass. I'll cook something creative, something, even though that includes, yes, the doing, but just something that nurtures my needs.
And sometimes perhaps even the needs of others. Yeah, I like how you differentiated that. So it's a philosophical thing to say doing and being, right? But let's use both our hemispheres here. Yeah. Let's define that, because there can be a misconception in our brains, okay, that sitting on a mountaintop or sitting on a couch and not doing anything and just being is sort of the goal. That is not the case. Why is that not the case? And some of you have already mentioned this here, and here's some more examples. Masculine is more like problem solving, solution finding, and details. Yes, I agree with you, Becky. Those are all left brain functions, by the way. Why is it, not necessarily, a feminine, in this case, a feminine activity, to just be? Yeah, you said cooking, going out in nature, maybe buying flowers or picking flowers, nurturing self and nurturing others. There's quite a bit of doing involved in that as well. So we need to differentiate between different kinds of doing. Yeah. It's very important, because our ego will pick up on that and will say, oh, today I'm just going to connect with my divine feminine energies. I'm not going to do anything. That's not energy management. Okay. That is giving yourself a break. Yeah. And checking out, and which is also part of, sort of your choice making. But we can't say that this isn't necessarily feminine energy. So let's talk more about that. What are other representations? I liked where you guys were going with this. Concepts and strategies. Yeah, representations of masculine energy, representations of feminine energy. How about war? War making. Even just sort of getting into a war. It's a bit of a direct question, but I want this to be spoken out. Is that more of a feminine or more of a masculine strategy for problem solving? It feels like a masculine approach. Okay, so yes, it's tricky. Why is it tricky, Tina? Why do you think it's tricky? What's behind war making? Let's just remind ourselves. Or any kind of fights, really. But of course, war making is, one of those huge, big concepts that run our collective. What is the purpose of war? And this is, only, maybe slightly related to what is going on right now, but it's very important to investigate the energy of something, to remember what the purpose of it is that you're engaging in. in order to decide if it's balanced or not. Yes, Tina, you're right. Part of it is the defense. Yeah. So defending your own borders. Yeah. Defending your own space. Mm-hmm. To gain control. Yes, Linda. Over what?
Resources.
Yes, thank you. Think Neanderthals. Okay. Think 2,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 2,000, 200 years ago. What is it about? Yes, there are higher level things that can come in, sovereignty, freedom, blah, blah, blah. But, if you have to fight for your freedom, well, then there has to be some kind of violation in the first place of that. Okay. So the purpose of war is to gain control and to get power over resources and people. Yeah. So it's kind of like, if I steal something from my neighbor, yeah, that's regarded as an act of war, really. And why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want to have more for myself, right? So to go out and to try to get something that somebody else has requires a certain kind of energy. And it's similar to the energy that Tina mentioned here, the defense. So if somebody comes in and tries to take something away from me, I have to resort to the masculine energies in me. Masculine energies have to do with boundaries, have to do with, wait. That's mine, that's yours. Yeah, have to do with resources, have to do with this provision. Yeah, so that's why war making is an alignment to gain. It's a gain, yeah, a gain of, well, ultimately, land and resources, be it in human form or in form of grains or precious metals or industrial installations, whatever. That is a masculine energy. What would be the counter energy? The counter energy is in the feminine energy that would be needed to, let's say, end war, to neutralize war. How do wars end? Negotiations, yeah. I mean, offering friendship, yeah. I mean, if it's the neighbor, if we're talking war and you have somebody who is clearly aligned to conquering and overpowering, don't know if friendship works. Communication, yes. We call, on a war-making level, we call it diplomacy.
What about sharing of resources?
Yes, that could be a possible solution. Resource sharing is a big one. Because if there is no need for more resources, then there's no need for war making, isn't that right? Sometimes it also helps to define boundaries more clearly. Yeah, to say, okay, wait, and I don't really mean this in regards to the Ukraine, because there's some aspects of that in that war as well. But, where there was unclear boundaries, unclear borders, okay, where there's been disputes about it. You have this sometimes between nations where there have been disputes for hundreds of years over certain boundaries, over certain borders. Yeah, tribal conflictions. Yeah, that been reaching back 1,000 years. Okay, so yes, communication and redefining boundaries can help. What else? How can this be resolved? What else? I want you to be creative, because we're talking about energy management. We're talking about masculine and feminine energies here. We're talking on how to balancing them more within ourselves.
Well, ideally, if it was masculine and feminine, finding a solution, then there would be a balance between sharing and compassion and understanding, and that sounds pretty idealistic when it comes to world politics.
But we're not talking about world politics. We're talking about energies here. Okay. So you just said a few things. Compassion, communication, we already said that. So that's obviously needed. Diplomacy is needed, but if the situation is too hardened, or let's say this has been going on for 1,000 years, I mean, obviously diplomacy hasn't worked, right? I mean, how many times can you talk about the same thing, and still be in war, okay? But you said something important. You said something about compassion. You said something about, sort of, moving closer. Yeah, moving closer. So there is a piece here within all of us, guys. Yeah, the middle ground. There is something that we call, yes, Becky, thank you. We call this empathy. And there's a bit sort of misunderstanding, misconception about empathy. People think that it means emotional. It's not quite true, okay? So from an energetic point of view, yes, Annette, very nice, forgiving. From an energetic point of view, empathy is high up there, guys. It's a high vibratory alignment that a person can have. It's not the same as sympathy, obviously, and it's also not the same as compassion. Empathy is different. Empathy means you put yourself into the other person's shoes and you really see it from that perspective. You share perspectives. You share what it feels like to you and what it does to you. By the way, this is what we're practicing here, yeah, in these energy talks and sacred self-healing and energy course and all the programs that I have. We're practicing empathy, all right, because this is the new era. The new era of consciousness development has to do with empathy. It's the key, okay? But not to go in and, hold hands and sing Kumbaya. No, that's not empathy, guys. That's more like what you just said, Cheryl, idealism, okay? Empathy has to do with forgiveness. Empathy has to do with understanding the bigger picture, with understanding that there is no gain for nobody in the end. That in the bigger, larger picture, the only way how we can resolve this or that issue, small or big, is if we collaborate, if we work together. And for that, we need to be willing to come in with certain perspectives or alignments. We can't just say, well, okay, you can have this much and I will get the rest. That's called injustice, right? That doesn't work. And that triggers a lot of emotions. That triggers a lot of, resistance in the other party. Okay, we can't also just say, all right, we take the whole thing, mathematically divide it in two, and you get one half and I get one half. I mean, with pizza, that might work, okay? But in the bigger picture, when it comes to ethnic things, when it comes to resources, when it comes to sociological things, yeah, and even in relationships, that's not always feasible. We have to come closer together, and we have to understand how the world and life itself works, and that both are needed. Yeah, but that overpowering, forcing, yeah, these what is often called toxic masculine concepts, that they are outdated. They will lead to self-destruct. They have to. Yeah, they need to be balanced out. So this is not against man. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking energies here. Empathy is not necessarily a feminine trait. You want to say it is because it's more emotional, it's aligned to emotions, but it's not. Those are traits that we can develop and we align ourselves to them. The ability to be compassionate, to be forgiving, to be unconditional, to be understanding, to be healing even, and to bring abundance and to bring, more hope into a situation. You want to call all that feminine traits, but it really isn't. Yeah, it's the balanced, the yin and the yang in you. Yeah. And by the way, most spiritual teachings actually teach that. Yeah, the center, the sacred heart, the middle ground. Jesus in your heart. Angels in your heart. That's the middle ground, guys. This is where yin and yang come together. And empathy is the key, because this is something that we are waking up to right now. And this is why I'm saying our times are changing. This is the new era. The new paradigm is not just some, woo concept. No, we are physically changing, guys. Our brains have been changing over the last 50 years. Our neurological systems have been changing. Our energetic systems are changing. This is what you're going through right now. So if you feel a little foggy or like you don't really want to be here right now, that's because we are in the middle of that right now. Right now. So watch war making become outdated. Watch it. Don't get pulled into your fear. What is fear? What is anger? Yeah, what is this injustice and victimhood and the pride? Yeah, that always leads to war making, that always leads to fight, guys. That's darkness. Yeah. And what is checking out and passivity and apathy and victimhood and, you know, sort of hanging on to injustice? That's darkness too. It's the feminine side of darkness. And, you know, the other one is the masculine side. So you see, everything has a masculine and feminine side, a yin and yang quality to it. It's the duality that I always talk about, that we all always experience. It has nothing to do with black and white. See, black and white, dark and light, that is actually binary. Yeah? It actually means there's only good, and if there's no good, it's got to be bad. Yeah? Which is even less sophisticated than looking at it as from a dualistic point of view. So the solution is really, I mean, you see this in the Christian faith and many other faiths, in the Holy Trinity. Yeah, it's the masculine and feminine, and, you know, the divine creation. That is you. You are the divine creation. You are the I am awareness. You are the consciousness, yeah, the individuated soul self that can postulate that I am part of this life. I exist. I am part of God. And that, guys, is right here, and it's always in the middle. Yeah, that's what Sacred Heart means. That's what Yin Yang means. That's what Kung Fu means. That's what Jesus in your heart means. That's what the divine child is. Yeah. And conscious manifestation needs both. So your next step is, what do I want to manifest? And with that, I want to leave you, because you manifest what you align yourself to. Okay? And that is the part that we need to understand here for the future. What you're aligning yourself to right now is what you're manifesting. It's always been that way, but now you're going to be more aware of it, just due to these collective developments that are happening with or without you. Okay? That's why March is a very, very decisive, very pivotal month for all of us, individually and collectively. Decide now what you're aligning yourself to and become a better energy manager. So if you want to know more about this, I have the new course, the 6-week course called eryCourse, teaching you everything that you need to know about energies from within yourself with your own inner experiences, or sign up for our beautiful Sacred Self-Healing course that teaches you this in self-healing ways, yeah, where you do online or self-guided meditations every day that allow you to understand this all better. Thank you very much for joining me here and for being my audience. Yes, I know that sometimes the questions are too simple for you because you are used to me asking complex questions. But I want you to think about that too, because that is a bit of a problem. Yeah, because which part in you are you aligned to when you think that everything has to be so complex? It is my experience, after all the studying and all the experience that I have, that things in nature are quite simple, actually. There's a common sense with these things. So with this, I would like to send you off and meet you here again on Friday at noon Eastern Daylight Saving Times, yeah, for the energy update for week 12. That is for next week. Yes, work smart, not hard. Yeah, there is a balanced saying. Yes, can't wait. Bye-bye, everyone.